What's going on, everybody? My name is Joe and I like to draw cartoons, and welcome to the final chapter, the final video in the 100 cartoon style challenge. Guys, we made it to 100. We are finally at the 100 cartoon style mark. This was a challenge that I set out for myself at the very beginning of the year, and we have finally hit the mark. I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm so very happy to be able to say that I've reached this challenge. I challenged myself this year with this, and I reached it. So in this video, we're going to be talking about every single one of the 100 cartoon styles. It's going to be a big compilation of every other video that I've made up to this point. And in this video, the new stuff that I'll be talking about is styles from 81 to 100. For anyone who may be new to my channel, the way that this video is going to work is I'm going to be going through every single style that I've done so far, showing the finished piece, and then talking about the process I went through when drawing myself in these styles. Every single style is going to have their own unique thing to them. Whenever I look and do research for how these styles should look, I always look at the certain aspects of certain characters that would work for me and kind of piece it together to see how I would look in that style. And every single drawing you're going to see is hand-drawn on paper. Absolutely no AI was used for this, absolutely none. And then what I'll do is for the short form videos, I always color them in and then show them on the finished piece there. And then for this, you'll see drawings that are more clean because I do take my hand-drawn version that's inked on paper and then put it into Photoshop to add the color there. That way it looks a little bit cleaner and more like how it would look on a cartoon. And whenever I do a challenge like this, I always start by looking at my subject, which is me, and figuring out the things that should be in every single drawing. So for this, obviously, I'm going to have my hair, my brown hair that's kind of spiked up and has a little bit of mullet in the back. I'm going to have my glasses. I'm going to have a blue shirt like this. And a lot of the inspiration just comes from looking up this cartoon and then characters with glasses or characters with brown hair or however that should look. So that's how you'll see for every single one of these drawings here from parts 1 to 100. This has a good chance of being my longest video that I've ever posted on my YouTube channel. So let's just dive right in. But before I do, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd. I'm reaching 50,000 subscribers on YouTube and 10,000 followers on Instagram. Once I reach those marks, I'm going to be doing a giveaway, something with my new Tattooing Traders Co. collab, and then some other stuff that I've accumulated over the years to do an awesome giveaway for y'all to show how much I appreciate you. Before we dive into the new stuff, we're going to be going through every single one of the styles, parts 1 through 80, and all the previous videos that I shot, so let's go to those right now. And the first of the 100 style challenge is Family Guy. Family Guy is a style that I've done so many. I've probably done hundreds of characters in this style at this point. Drawing myself was going to be fun, and I knew where I needed to start. With Family Guy, I could either make the choice to have my glasses and then the circular eyes that you always see with Family Guy characters under the glasses, kind of similar to Meg, but with the shape of my glasses, I figured I would just have my glasses be doubling as my glasses and basically the outline for my eyes. That way my pupils will be inside and that'll be it. And then with Family Guy characters as well, one thing I've always noticed is that when designing the whole facial structure, face and neck, you'll have the line work of the neck here below from the ear, and you'll start under the eye to go into the cheek and then into the jaw and chin area, but then it will cut off at the chin. There won't be any line work connecting the neck to the chin. There are some exceptions to it, like Tom Tucker, and then I think Ryan Reynolds has a character that looks similar to it as well, but that's overall the general uniform style. And then the line work for the lip is going to be basically like you'll see a little smile, and then it'll have a curved line at the top, at the bottom to represent my top and bottom lip that you'll see right here in the finished product of myself in the Family Guy style, the first style of 100 to come. And now the next style we'll be talking about is Loud House, another style that I love to do and that I've been doing a lot more of lately. Loud House is going to be basically the same thing. My glasses will serve as my glasses and as my eyes, and you'll see the pupils on the inside. And one thing I do love about the Loud House is the way they use lines for shading and shadowing that you'll see in my hair and then under my chin as well for extra shadowing and shading that you'll see right here in the finished product of myself in the Loud House style. And the next style we're talking about is The Simpsons, another style I absolutely adore. One of the most unique cartoon styles that I always love to do with the yellow skin. And this is also similar with Futurama, that I always notice that if they're looking off to the side like this, the cheek is going to start from their eye, and then it's going to go, instead of into their like jaw and chin, it's going to go right into their upper lip. And then it'll go down, and there won't really be a predominant chin. Sometimes there are exceptions to that, but it typically just goes into the bottom lip and then right into the neck. So you'll see that with mine, and it will be the same thing with my glasses and my eyes as the previous three that you'll see right here in the finished product of myself in the Simpsons style. And the next style we'll be talking about here is a little bit more of an obscure suggestion that I took, and that is Codename Kids Next Door. Now in my head, I kind of call this like the Stewie Griffin character design because they all kind of had football shaped heads. Number one has a very, very thin and skinny football shaped head, but the rest of them still overall have very ovular shaped heads. So that's usually where I like to start. They have the ovular shaped heads. They have big ears on the side, and then they usually will have a little line to represent like their cheek whenever they're smiling. Those are just some little things that I like to notice with Codename Kids Next Door characters. And they typically look like they have like baggier clothes on as well. So you'll notice that with my blue shirt in the finished product that you'll see right here of myself in the Codename Kids Next Door style. And the next style we'll be talking about is a style that I talked about ad nauseum on this channel, and that is Bluey. I always adore this style and love taking human characters and converting them into the Bluey style. And I got to do it with myself for this one. So I always like to start by looking at my subject's hair color and going from there. Mine is like a brown color, so I kind of wanted to translate myself into like a chocolate lab, basically. My wife loves to call me more like a golden retriever, but I want to go more with the chocolate lab look. And usually I'll take the hair of my subject and turn it into their ears on the side as well, if that's applicable. And you'll see that for this one as well, along with my spiky hair on top. And then you'll see my glasses. But then you'll also see the oval shaped eyes under the glasses. So you see that all in this finished product right here of myself in the style of Bluey. We are now on to the sixth style, 6 of 100, and that is Rick and Morty, another style that I have done a bunch. So with Rick and Morty, it's going to look very similar overall. Compared to Family Guy, there is going to be like a full completed chin. They won't have their like disconnection from the chin to the neck like Family Guy does. They have a full chin that goes from their eye over to their ears. And then another thing about Rick and Morty that I always like to include the line work around the mouth that you'll typically see with Rick and Morty character that you'll see right here in the finished product of myself in the Rick and Morty style. Continuing right along onto the seventh style, and that is South Park. Along with Family Guy, it's probably the style that I've done the most over the years, and I absolutely love this style so much. It's so unique. The oval-shaped eyes that almost look like they're leaning up against each other that you'll see with mine as well, but you'll see the glasses on top. My entire eyes are not just my glasses. You'll see the eyes under it as well. And all my other aspects with my hair and with my blue shirt that you'll see right here, myself in the South Park style. And the next style we'll be doing is Peanuts / Charlie Brown, that whole Charles Schultz style. So for this one, I could have went the route of making my glasses look kind of like Marcy's, where you just see the lenses but don't actually see the pupils under it. I decided to go against that, but it would still have the lenses of my glasses be like a lighter gray color, but you can still see my pupils under it. And then with my hair, I kind of almost based it off of Woodstock in a way, where it's just lines and then the color fits in between without there being line work to like almost like look like where you can color it in. It'll make sense when I show it. Here's myself right here in the finished product of myself in the Peanuts style. There you can see my hair is kind of not fully enclosed with line work, but is kind of enclosed with the way that it was shaded in. So there's myself in the Charlie Brown style. Now this style is always suggested anytime I do a series basically of any kind, and that is Gravity Falls. This one was the most challenging one in terms of my glasses because these characters have two perfect circle eyes that are basically always overlapping. That's always where I start with a Gravity Falls character. So then when you look up how do you draw a character like that with glasses, they still have their eyes like this, and then the glasses just build off of that, which is very fascinating, very interesting way to kind of design a character. So I used a bunch of reference shots and turned myself into a Gravity Falls character that you'll see right here, myself in the Gravity Falls style. And the next style is Fairly Odd Parents. Now for this one, I could have gone the route of making me look more like a older character, like an adult, but I just based it off of the whole look where Timmy and the fairies all have like a D-shaped head and then an ear with a 6 in it. I just love that look. I think it's so iconic. So I went off of that and used that as the jumping off point for my character design. My glasses will serve as my glasses and my eyes. You'll see my blue pupils on the inside as well. And then these characters always have like rectangular shaped eyebrows that will have highlights on the top. So you see that in the finished product right here of myself in the Fairly Odd Parents style. Now these next three that I'm going to talk about are three of my favorites that I've done so far. And the first one I'll talk about is myself in the style of a Goofy movie. Now a Goofy movie is one of my favorite Disney animated films of all time. It's probably up there as one of my favorite anime films of all time as well. I just love the father-son dynamic and storyline with these characters and the music in it. I just adore this movie so much. And after the documentary that they released where they were showing the people who created the movie in the style of a Goofy movie, like if you've seen the documentary, you know what I'm talking about. It's awesome, and it inspired me to want to draw myself in that style. So I had to go for it. Basically, with a Goofy movie, you're just going to have basically very human-looking features, just with a big black dog nose, and then they'll have like the long floppy ears as well. And you'll see that right here in the finished product of myself in the style of a Goofy movie, one of my favorite animated films of all time. Now the next drawing is one that I did without the use of AI, and that was drawing myself in the style of Studio Ghibli. If you've been on the internet the last few weeks, you know that there's been this new AI filter where you can turn things into Studio Ghibli, and it sucks because there's no actual artist involved. Don't use AI. AI art is not art, guys, come on. But anyway, I really wanted to take a chance at drawing myself in the style of Studio Ghibli. So I looked up the actual artwork from Studio Ghibli and worked from there. Their eyes basically are going to have the line work on top and a little line on the bottom, and the big skinny ovular pupils with some highlights on that as well. They also would occasionally have their eye color in there as well, but I just went with black pupils for this, just kind of simplify it. And then also very complex in the hair design as well. And then also got to include the shadowing that you'll see right here in the finished product of myself in the style of Studio Ghibli with no AI required. Now, if you've been watching my shorts over the last month or so, we're doing a lot of artwork, and some of it has been making my own variants based off of certain other characters, whether it's other Invincible characters, other superheroes, or other characters in pop culture in general. So I wanted to try to do the same with me. So that is how I chose to draw myself in the Invincible style. Basically drawing myself in that style with my own Invincible suit. So I decided to go with the similar look with the goggles, but like kind of bigger goggles with straps in the middle and on the sides to represent my glasses, and then it'll be a similar Invincible style suit where it's going to have the opening in the mouth and then also the opening up here so you can see my hair. And the colors of the suit are just like similar blue to my shirt and then like a bluish gray for the other aspects of it that you'll see right here in the finished product of myself as a variant basically. Now this next one and the Charles Schultz style one are probably the most basic that I've done so far, but this next one is Adventure Time. With human characters, Adventure Time typically doesn't have a whole lot of detail. It's typically just black circle eyes and a smile, and that's kind of the extent of it. But if they have glasses, they're also going to have the glasses and like a light blue like sheen to the lenses as well. So that's going to be no different for mine. So you see that in the finished product right here of myself in the Adventure Time style. And the last of the 15 styles we'll talk about here in part 1 is the Phineas and Ferb style. So for this one, I kind of based myself off of the character design of Jeremy, where it's like a P-shaped from the neck over into the head. They're gonna have the ear over off to the side with like the E/3 shape in it as well. And then the eyes. For this one, I'm just gonna have my glasses represent my glasses and my eyes. And then for the pupils, they are typically ovular shaped and have the color of the eyes where it's like blue, like a darker blue or like a brown. And then they have a little circle inside to represent a highlight on it as well. So we see that all in this finished product right here of myself in the Phineas and Ferb style. And for part 16, the style that I did is the 2003 Clone Wars cartoon made by Genndy Tartakovsky. If I said that correctly, he's the same guy who made like Samurai Jack and some other iconic cartoons. With this one, I took a lot of inspiration from the way that Anakin's whole design looked. I'm not saying that I look like Hayden Christensen or anything, but with the way that his hair looked and the way that his face looked, I figured it was the best kind of base to go off of that with the eyes and stuff like that. And I also gave myself kind of like a Jedi robe, still following with the color scheme of my shirt, kind of way like my Invincible variant drawing looked as well. So with that one, I went with that, and I want to add like a little blue like hint to the lenses of my glasses, almost like they're futuristic or like the futuristic like Star Wars binoculars or something like that to make it a little more Star Warsy. So that was part 16. The 2003 Clone Wars style. And for part 17, I did the Powerpuff Girls. Every single time I do a style like this where I make the drawing look like a Powerpuff Girl, y'all get mad at me. But I don't care because I love this template so much. This template for character design is just so much fun to be able to just try to translate all these different people that I've done over the years, which is probably almost at 100 because I've done so many of them. Just making with the round head, the big eyes, and geometric shapes. I just love the way they all turned out, and it's no different with how this one turned out for me with my glasses as well and with my hair. So there's part 17 for Powerpuff Girls. No matter how much y'all complain, I'm never going to stop doing it like this. And now on to part 18 is Bob's Burgers. I'm honestly surprised it took me this long to get to this style, but this style is so much fun. More often than not, it's going to be just like them staring straight on you, kind of similar to South Park, but it's got smaller eyes, smaller ovular eyes that are spaced out, just kind of a basic like half circle nose, and typically pretty wide mouths. That's basically how most characters looked in all the references that I looked at. And I feel like this kind of exemplifies the Bob's Burgers style pretty well. So there's myself in the Bob's Burgers style. And up next now at part 19, I have Big Mouth. This is a show that is celebrating its final season. It's kind of having a big send-off moment. I'm seeing it all over my For You page at the moment. I used to watch it a lot. I really fell off over the years. But I do love the whole character design for this. I find it very unique because of the way that they actually include character lips. That's one thing that I noticed about the style pretty much is that it's kind of similar to The Simpsons, except you actually see the character's lips because the line work will go from under the eye into the cheek area and then into the lips for the mouth. That's all connects right here. And you'll see that also with mine. And ironically, I used the character of Andrew, voiced by John Mulaney, as the inspiration for this because he's got glasses, so you see that very much in how mine turned out. My hair is a little bit different, but I still used how other characters' hair look in the show as inspiration for this. So there's myself in the Big Mouth style. And we are now at part 20, and part 20 is the Garfield style. a style that I love very much and I think is very, very iconic. Obviously, it's going to have the very big ovular overlapping eyes, and it's pretty basic from there on out. I use John as a big inspiration for this because he's basically the only human character template that there is for Garfield, especially like the classic Garfield. Even though he does really have a nose in some of the classic cartoons, I still added a nose for myself. I still kind of base my upper body and shoulders on John's look as well. And then you also notice that my glasses are completely separate from my eyes. You'll see later on where my glasses are basically representations of my eyes. That's kind of the difference between certain cartoon styles, and that was the difference with Garfield. So there is myself in the Garfield style. And now we're into part 21, which is the SpongeBob style. Such an iconic cartoon style. And instead of just drawing myself as SpongeBob or as like handsome Squidward, which I love to do also, I basically made myself like a fish character, a basic fish character. There are a lot of different routes you could take with a fish character. With glasses, it was a little bit difficult because not really many of them wear glasses unless they're like very old. So I basically just went off the basic template, making my glasses basically my eyes, like I just mentioned. That's going to be certain things that are different between each style. And then I chose the orange color scheme just because it kind of matches my hair. Orange and brown kind of goes together pretty well. So I got like orange skin, the yellow lips, and then my hair is represented with the fins. So there's myself in the SpongeBob style. And the next style is Dogman. It's definitely more based on the children's book version rather than like the movie version. For this one, you'll see my glasses a part of it, and then also the long rectangular pupils of the Dogman characters. You'll see I don't have any ears because Dogman humans don't have ears. And then the hair is kind of a similar style to like a Peanuts style, where it's just kind of a lot of jagged lines that are all colored in. And then obviously the arms are very interesting because they're just straight out like that, straight lines. And then they just have three fingers on them. They don't have four like other cartoon characters. They don't have five like actual people. They only have three. So that's one thing I noticed about the style as well. So there's myself in the Dogman style. And then up next is the Smiling Friends style. Obviously, you'll see from the finished product already, it's not that different. It's just taking Pim, which I think is probably the most fun character design out of these characters, just because I love his eyes. I love the crazy circular eye, the crazy squiggle circle eyes. I just love that so much. So basically took Pim, put glasses on him, added my hair, changed the color shirt, and then that's what you get right there. I don't really know what else to do for Smiling Friends style other than just taking the crazy look of the characters and turning them into different characters. If you have other suggestions for that, let me know, but I have more fun doing that. So there's myself in the Smiling Friends style. And we are now at part 24, and for part 24, I have Lego. You could argue this is not really cartoon style, but there are Lego cartoons, so it's close enough. Plus, I just love drawing things as Lego minifigures. I love Lego minifigures. I collect Legos. I love Lego so much, this was a fun one to try to do. Turn myself into a Lego minifigure. So with Lego, obviously they're going to have like the circular square heads and the square like trapezoid shaped bodies with the arms on the side. And I also do my best to try to make it look kind of like the plastic with like the sheen on them, the shininess on them, trying to make it look like a plastic minifigure. So there's myself in the Lego style for part 24. We're now part 25, and this is certainly one of the most unique cartoon styles, and that is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I definitely just took more inspiration from the way that they look in the book. I love this character design. It is very, very unique, so I just took a lot of inspiration by just Googling Diary of a Wimpy Kid characters with glasses, Diary of a Wimpy Kid characters with like spiky hair, something that's similar to mine. And I basically took all those aspects that I found online and combined it into this drawing right here of myself in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid style. And the next style is the Total Drama Island style. This is a style that I get suggested a lot. I don't necessarily think I have mastered it quite yet, but I still actually really enjoy it. It's always a challenge because I just basically look at every single character and use that as reference for little things, whether it's like the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the hair. The characters are very like geometric, if you know what I mean. Like if you look at my chin, it's very pointed. It's kind of square. That's something I noticed about characters. Their shoulders are always pretty square, but there's myself in the Total Drama Island style. And the next style I have up here is Regular Show. Now, I'm sure some of you could look at this and literally just say, this is Gravity Falls. But Regular Show and Gravity Falls are very similar because they have the perfect circle eyes that are overlapping each other. That is the main thing about Gravity Falls and Regular Show that I personally recognize. But one thing I do recognize that's a little bit different is that the pupils are smaller. They're like very, very tiny for Regular Show. Their hair typically have more line work in it. So you notice that with mine for this one as well. And then when it comes to the mouth, the like little half circle representative of the cheek for the smile is a little bit different, and that's something that I know Regular Show characters, so I added that little half circle there to represent more of the Regular Show style for characters. So there's myself in the Regular Show style. And we are down to the final two of this update video. The next one is Beavis and Butthead, and you can already tell from this one that this one didn't take a lot of legwork on my part. Obviously, I was going to take inspiration from Beavis or Butthead in these drawings, so I took inspiration from how they look, changed the hair a little bit, added glasses over the eyes, and then changed the shirt, changed the hair color, and then you basically got this finished product right here. And the last style we'll talk about in this video, part 30, is Rugrats. The way that this one turned out is certainly one of my favorites. You can obviously look at that and say it's very heavily influenced on the look of Chucky. Obviously, he's got the glasses, he's got crazy spiky hair, so I used that as the inspiration for that. I didn't want to turn myself into like an adult character. I wanted to turn myself into like the baby template. That would be more fun for me, especially with the Rugrats style, and I personally really love how that turned out. And now we are back in present day, and the first drawing I got to talk about is the style of Cuphead, myself in the style of Cuphead, because I forgot to talk about that one in the last video. That was somewhere along the 20 to 30 range. I completely forgot to include in the last video, but there's myself in the Cuphead style. The iconic look of Cuphead, like very much like Rubber Hose, old-time cartoony style, with like the gloves and like the very like soft looks of like the chin and his hair and my hair as well. And then you also see the iconic look of the cartoon pupils, where they're the ovals with the little slits in them as well. So there's myself in the Cuphead style. Thank you to those who commented that I missed it in the last video. And now at part 31 was the Looney Tunes style. Now I love the Looney Tunes style so much. Drawing myself was a little bit of a challenge just because I'm not an animal. So what I did was kind of base myself off of the look of like Elmer Fudd. You'll see that in like my the way my face is set up and my nose. And then you also see like spikier hair, kind of more reminiscent of how the characters like Sylvester and Wile E. Coyote's hair look. That's kind of the look for that. So there's myself in the Looney Tunes style. And now at part 32, we have King of the Hill. Now, obviously you look at that and you'll see I'm very much basing my look off of the look of Hank Hill, the main character. He has glasses, and just kind of basing off of that. I also took some inspiration off the look of like Bobby Hill's like hairline. Like his hairline is not a perfect line all the way along. It's kind of like some dashes. So you'll see that on my hair as well. So there's some of the components that inspired drawing myself in the style of King of the Hill. And now at part 33 is a little bit of a deep cut, and that is the Mighty Bee. Now anyone who did grow up watching the show can clearly look at this drawing and say that I based this off of Bessie, the main character, and then her best friend, whose name is escaping me at the moment. But combining those two characters with my glasses, with my hair, and with the whole look of it is basically how I turned myself into the style of the Mighty Bee. And we're now at part 34, and part 34 was Dr. Seuss. I absolutely love the look of the Dr. Seuss style. I basically turned myself into like a Whoville character, also kind of combining the looks of like Cat in the Hat with very big upper lip and like the beat nose. That's kind of the overall look for like the Who's in the Dr. Seuss style. And they also have like very jagged line work, even like some jagged lines to show like shadowing, kind of similar to Loud House. But there's myself in the Dr. Seuss style. And up next is a show that I grew up absolutely loving, and that is Scooby-Doo, whatever iteration you want to talk about. I grew up watching What's New Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo so much. So for myself drawing that in my style, I basically base it off of Velma with my glasses with like the blue lenses. And then there's aspects of Freddy and Shaggy with my hair and with my whole look for my face and my body. So that's the components that you'll see when I drew myself in the Scooby-Doo style. And the next style is Ed, Edd and Eddy, another show that I truly loved growing up. It's just an absolutely wacky show with some wacky character design. So with this one, I kind of combined, like as I go along, you'll notice that I do just kind of look at characters and take different components from characters and see how it fits with me. So for this one, I combined aspects of Ed and Eddy, basically. Eddie has like that very big pointy upper lip, which I just absolutely love. I think is very iconic with that character. And then like the whole look of myself, I kind of based more off of Ed, but I still kind of took aspects from that and some other characters when drawing myself in the Ed, Edd and Eddy style. And the next style is kind of a cartoon style, kind of not, but I loved making this one. I love this suggestion. This was the style of the Muppets. Now, you can look at this one, and if you're a fan of the Muppets, you could probably see some aspects of it that I took inspiration from. I took inspiration from Walter, the new, like, I think he was a new edition when they made the Muppets movie 2011, and took aspects of Scooter, kind of taking aspects from his, like, yarn style hair and the glasses as well. So those were the main inspiration for drawing myself in the style of the Muppets. Now, I can admit there are some styles you see in this where it's basically me taking the main character and throwing some glasses on him, throwing some hair on him, and having a blue shirt. This one is no different with the BoJack Horseman style, as you'll see here. I wanted to draw myself as a horse in the BoJack Horseman style. It only felt right. So I took the template of BoJack Horseman and wanted to make sure I had some pink on my snout, so I love the look of that. Added some glasses, added some like different mane look for it, and then added a blue shirt as well for myself in the BoJack Horseman style. And part 39 is the Flintstones, another truly classic and iconic cartoon. I love the way this one turned out. It's basically taking the template of Fred, making sure my blue shirt is kind of like cut up the way that Fred Flintstone shirt is. That's like a pelt basically in the show. Gave my shirt that whole look, and then the whole look in my head is very much reminiscent of Fred's look, with the hair just a little bit different, and then adding some glasses. And I went with the eyes more reminiscent of Barney rather than Fred, make it a little bit different and making it more myself. So there's myself in the Flintstone style. And we're now at part 40, and part 40 is the Aardman / like Wallace and Gromit type style. I always really love the look of these characters, so this one was really fun. I took inspiration from the look of Wallace, basically, with like the perfect circle eyes that kind of are overlapping, and then he kind of has like I always call it like a bowling pin shaped head, but when he smiles it expands past, so I use that as inspiration as well. And then the way that their hair looks in the show, it's claymation, like I said, and I want to make sure it looks like they took like their little sculptor tools to add aspects of hair. So you'll see that for myself in the style of Aardman / Wallace and Gromit. And the next style is the Amazing World of Gumball. Not really much to say about this one. Basically taking Gumball, adding glasses, changing the color of my shirt, and then adding some longer hair for myself in the style of Amazing World of Gumball. And the next style, part 42, is Danny Phantom. This one was really fun. I love the style of Danny Phantom. I love Butch Hartman's whole character design. So I based myself off of Danny in some ways, changing the hair but still having like the spiky aspects to it. And one thing about Danny Phantom is they love to have a lot of highlights. Highlights in the hair, highlights on their shoulders, highlights on their skin. So that's one thing I want to make sure I included when drawing myself in the style of Danny Phantom. And the next style is Avatar: The Last Airbender, a show that I just am so ashamed to say I've never seen. I've heard nothing but incredible things. I really need to get around to watching it one day. A lot of my look was inspired by the look of Aang, his whole outfit, the look of his like eye design, his nose, his mouth, everything like that came from Aang, but adding some hair. Look at the way that characters with hair, like their design looks, so I went off of that. And then all of that came together when drawing myself in the style of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now this next one is certainly the most unique and might genuinely be my favorite out of these 50. Once I saw the suggestion, I knew I wanted to give it a try. It's a style I've never done before, and it's Red Bull commercials. If anyone has seen a Red Bull commercial, they're animated characters, you know what I'm talking about. I love this style. I hope to do it a lot more with some other characters. In my head, it looks like kind of like almost like messy, jagged line work. The line doesn't always connect. And then the coloring just looks like watercolor to me. So I want to try to include that aspect as well. I love the way it turned out. They have like their bigger noses. They have just the lines for eyes. They don't have any pupils or nothing. And I gave myself wings because Red Bull gives you wings, stuff like that. So there's myself in the style of Red Bull commercials. And at part 45, we have Sonic the Hedgehog, taking inspiration from the look of the Hedgehog characters and trying to make it myself, making it blue, adding glasses, and then also adding a W in the chest, kind of because my last name is Whipple. I want to do at least something, again, a little bit different, trying to find the little things and make it my own. So there's myself in the style of Sonic the Hedgehog. And the next style up is another kind of deep cut Nickelodeon show for anyone who's my age who grew up watching the show, and that is El Tigre. I truly loved watching the show growing up. I loved the supervillains and the hero designs in this show. It was so much fun. But for this one, I'm just drawing myself as like how Manny Ramirez, the main character, looks just in his like normal street clothes. One thing that's a little bit different with them is that their eyes are also kind of like Cuphead styles, but the slit is more on the top rather than the side. And then also in the show, Manny Ramirez has his belt with the T on it. I gave myself a belt with a W on it. Again, making some things a little bit more myself. So there's myself in the style of El Tigre. We're almost through these 50 already. The next style is Futurama. Now Futurama, the look of Futurama, when you're taking a human character, is very much just The Simpsons with normal skin tones. Like if it's a white character, instead of yellow, they're going to be like their actual skin color. So I went off of that. And another thing about Futurama that's very iconic to me is the heads in the jars. And I want to give myself the look of myself in this Futurama style in a head in a jar. So I want to go off of that. And that's how you got this over here with myself in the style of Futurama. We're now at part 48, 3 more to go, and the next style is Big City Greens. For me, when I look at this one is very reminiscent of Gravity Falls. They were both like 2010s Disney Channel cartoon shows. So their eyes are mainly overlapping, but for mine with the glasses, they're kind of overlapping, but also still have the lenses. And then their skin is kind of like a yellow, like lime green kind of look. So that's always how I see it there. And they don't have noses. They're just eyes and mouth and then the very round shape of their heads. So that's how I got myself in the Big City Green style. And then we're now at part 49, and we have another Nicktoon that I grew up watching and adoring, My Life as a Teenage Robot. Obviously, by looking at it, it's very unique compared to the rest. I try to turn myself into a robot from that show, taking inspiration from how Jenny's like has these little propellers, whatever's on her head, that's supposed to be like ponytails or something. So I want to take inspiration from that, giving stuff like that to act as my hair for this robot character. And their eyes are also like very ovular with white lines in the middle, white diagonal lines. So I use all of that, turn myself into a My Life as a Teenage Robot, or the style of My Life as a Teenage Robot. And we have made it to part 50, people. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. But for part 50, it is Calvin and Hobbes. Now this is just another iconic, like kind of comic strip style. I took a lot of inspiration from the look of Calvin. He has spiky hair, kind of like mine. So I love his whole character design with his eyes. It's just black eyes, added glasses to it. use the whole thing where there's the line work that doesn't always connect, but it still is a part of the whole aspect of the character, whether it's their hair or their arms or whatever it is. Used all that, put that all together. He also will have like blushing aspects on like his cheeks, his ears, and his noses. So I added that all up and made myself in the style of Calvin and Hobbes. And now we're back at present day, and let's start with part 51, which is Invader Zim. Anytime I try to draw a person in the style of Invader Zim, I always start by Googling Invader Zim characters, and then this guy always pops up, and I use him as the template for most of it, as you'll see in the drawing. It's basically just using that as a template, making the hair a little bit more unique to mine, adding glasses as well with a little bit of like shiny aspects to it, and then you'll see my blue shirt and my hair. All of that together to make myself in the style of Invader Zim. Now, the next style you'll see is definitely one of the more complicated ones you'll see in this entire series, and that is Dragon Ball Z. I knew when I was going to have to do this style, I had to go all out. I had to add like the insane like muscle detail, the different shadowing and different like line work aspects to it, the aspects of the hair, the way the hair looks. And I think it turned out pretty good. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, make sure to let me know how I did on this. If you're a fan of any of these, please make sure to let me know how I did on these. I usually use a lot of different reference items for this, so I hope that I did these styles justice, especially this one for such an iconic one like Dragon Ball Z. And the next style is Ben 10. You can tell by looking at that one exactly where I got the inspiration from. I grew up with the original Ben 10 series. I think that one is just clearly the best out of all of them. And you can tell pretty easily by the way that this turned out, with the design on the shirt, the highlights in the hair, where the inspiration came for this. So that's how I drew myself in the Ben 10 style. And then the next style is Hazbin Hotel. This is a show that I've not really watched myself, but if I were to describe this show in the way that it looks in a few words, I would call it pointy and chaotic. Just the whole look of the show is so like chaotic to me. And I added those aspects into my drawing. Very pointy chin, pointy shoulders, very big and pronounced eyes with like even like upper eyelids as well. And then crazy looking hair as well. So that's how I got myself in the style of Hazbin Hotel. And the next style is DuckTales, kind of the more modern version of DuckTales. As you can tell, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. It's just a DuckTales character with glasses and with kind of more flowing hair in the back, all added together to form myself in the style of DuckTales. And then the next style is Fish Hooks, just such like a fever dream of a show that I remember watching growing up and thoroughly enjoying. I use a lot of inspiration from the look of Milo for this, obviously. He's got the fins aspect as a hair, works perfectly for mine. And then adding glasses, the blue aspect for the whole look of the fish, and then the blue shirt all came together to draw myself in the style of Fish Hooks. And then the next two styles are Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. Two iconic shows with very similar names, almost the exact same name, but very different looks. The original Teen Titan is a lot more detailed, a lot more realistic looking. I took a lot of inspiration from the look of Robin, obviously, and the look of Beast Boy a little bit. I used the look of Robin and Beast Boy for both drawings for Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. You'll see that the highlights in my hair, very reminiscent of how Robin looked, and then you'll see my glasses and the highlight in my shirt, again, reminiscent of how like their outfits look in that show for Teen Titans. And then for Teen Titans Go, a lot more cartoony, a lot more rounded eyes. And I use like Beast Boy's inspiration for the eyes because he's got like the line work on top and the bottom, but not in the middle. But it still all forms together to form his eyes. And then the curvature mouth. And then again, the softer look to it, very different from how Teen Titans looks. But there's myself in the style of Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. And the next style is the style of Peppa Pig. So for this one, obviously you can look at it and just say I took inspiration turning myself into a pig character. They're going to have like the line work with the snout out here. They're going to have like the little rosy cheeks on here. When noticing characters in that show, it's almost like messy. Like the way that the characters look to me is like they design characters that they want the kids that are watching that can actually draw these characters, which I really like appreciate. I think that's really cool. So I took inspiration for that. And with Peppa Pig, they don't have just like black line work. They usually have line work that is like a darker aspect of the way that character is. So like for a pig character, it's going to be like a darker pink for the outline for that character, for their skin. And then for the hair, I just want to make sure I added my hair. So then all of that came together with my glasses, with my blue shirt, to draw myself in the style of Peppa Pig. Now, I mentioned this in the last video. I just want to point out there are going to be some drawings where it's just not much has changed, but there are just some aspects added to the character to make it look like me, like my glasses or my hair. And for the Smurfs, there's not much I could really do. I wanted to make myself a Smurf. So what I did was I was taking like the, obviously inspiration from Brainy, I believe is his name, because he's got glasses. So I took inspiration from that. I gave myself some hair as well, and then also just changed the color of my hat to match like the color of my shirt that I love to include in all these drawings. So there's myself in the style of the Smurfs. Next style we got is Super Mario. Definitely taking inspiration from the look of like Mario and Luigi, mainly more Luigi just because I'm like a taller guy. So I use inspiration for that. No mustache because I simply can't grow a good one, so I'm not even going to bother trying to do that. And then just giving myself the whole look of a Super Mario brother with the overalls and with the hat with the D on it to represent my name. But there's myself in the style of Super Mario. And then the next style I have is Steven Universe. This is a show that I'm not super familiar with. I've never really seen the show myself, but I did a lot of research looking at the way the characters look, and I think I did a pretty good job with it, using the way that Steven looks as like an inspiration for that. It's another show that's like very like soft in the way that the line work is, very rounded. So I use that as inspiration. They have more like ovular eyes, and then not really much of a neck. So all of that came together to draw myself in the style of Steven Universe. And then the next style up is Angry Bird, drawing myself as an Angry Bird, using the character of Red as like a template for that, but making it blue, adding glasses, adding my hair to it, all came together to draw myself in the style of Angry Birds. And the next two are based off like YouTube cartoon style. So one of them ended up being How It Should Have Ended, which is a YouTube channel I've been watching for ages. I've always loved how these how their style looks, just like the white circles for like the pupils. That's like all they use, and I love how that has always worked as like a uniform style throughout all these different IPs that they've done videos on. So I love how that turned out. I want to do that for myself. It's kind of like, when I look at it, it also is kind of similar to where it's almost like watercolor, and maybe not watercolor, but like it's not just a flat color template for it. It's like, it's got like extra texture to it. So I love the way that look. I tried to emulate that in how this drawing turned out, adding like some shadowing under my eyes and on my arms and stuff. And then also some highlights and some shadowing in my hair for myself in the style of How It Should Have Ended. And then the next style I'm not gonna say is the one where I look the best in, but it's the Meat Canyon style. When I look at Meat Canyon's art style, I equate it to just like caricatures with like an extra ounce of like cursed energy to it. I always love his drawings. I love his style that he's kind of like trademarked over the years. And I love how this turned out for myself. Again, I'm not going to be making myself look great. I got to make myself look a little bit cursed. And I love how it turned out. I love his style so much, and I love trying to emulate that in certain things for myself. But there's myself in the style of Meat Canyon. And then the next style we have up is Kim Possible. Obviously, looking at the way this turned out, I took a lot of inspiration from the look of Ron Stoppable. The big kind of ear off to the side, and then the pointy hair as well, adding glasses. And then their eyes are just like the color without really any shading. So it's just the blue eyes in there for me. So there's myself in the style of Kim Possible. And the next style up is F is for Family, a Netflix animated show produced and created by Bill Burr, one of my favorite stand-up comedians. I had not watched the show myself personally, but I do like the way the characters look in this. I use the inspiration from like the way that the son looks, basically, and then the dad, because he has glasses. Anytime I do something like this, I need to find a character with glasses to use as a template. Put that all together. So that's how I got myself in the style of F is for Family. And the next style, a style that I'm so shocked it took me this long to do, is Pokemon, one of the most iconic animes of all time. So for this one, I took a lot of inspiration from the way that Ash looks. I'm not super familiar with the characters in the show or the show in general, so I used some inspiration from Ash and other characters with the way their hair looks, and then their eyes are kind of shaped like circular doors. They're like circles, very ovular with little lines like that have like a line at the bottoms, making like half circles, and then they have very, again, long ovular pupils as well, like little line work around the cheeks sometimes as well, and the shadowing aspect all came together to draw myself in the style of Pokemon. Now the next three styles I'm going to talk about, you can look at it and tell exactly where the inspiration came from. First one I'll talk about is Dexter's Laboratory. Obviously you can look at that and you look at it and maybe initially just say I base this off of the way that Dexter looks, but it was mainly how his dad looks, just with blonder hair, and then adding that all aspects together to make it myself in the style of Dexter's Laboratory. And then the next one is Johnny Test, another character that is just white with with very big hair. So I use that as inspiration for that. Taking the look of his sisters, because they have glasses, putting that all together to make myself in the style of Johnny Test. And then the next style is Hey Arnold, another one where you can look at and just say, I took the template of Hey Arnold, the way that their characters look with glasses where they have like blue aspects on the lensing, and then the eyes, and then the football-shaped head with the big hair, all put together to make myself in the style of Hey Arnold. And now this next one is certainly the most unique, and that is Transformers. I've never really watched many Transformers animated shows. I've watched a ton of the live action movies. I love the Michael Bay movies. So for this one, it was definitely a challenge. I just looked up Transformers animated series, took some aspects of like how Bumblebee looks, because Bumblebee is one of my favorite characters. I knew Optimus Prime was going to be too like big of a character to use as a template for myself. Added some other aspects to it, kept the whole blue color scheme with it, and then the like blue shining eyes with the white aspects being kind of like the pupils. And then I wanted to add some aspects to it that kind of act as my glasses, but more like mechanical and looking like it's a part of the head. All putting that together to make myself as a Transformer, essentially. We are getting close to the home stretch here, people. Next style is South Park Canadian. I love this style so much. I always love just the way that these characters are animated in South Park is just so satisfactory to me, and I love it so much, just like their heads just bopping around as they're talking. I always love this one so much. Just their black beady eyes, the line work for the mouth, And then their bodies are just squares and rectangles. I don't know why that's just so funny to me. I love it so much, and I love drawing myself in that style as a South Park Canadian, even though I'm not Canadian. Now, this next one is certainly a little bit more unique, and that is drawing myself as a Mii from the Wii, the Nintendo Wii. This one was so much fun. I grew up with a Wii. I've created countless Miis in my day, so I wanted to make sure that when I drew myself like this, I took aspects of like actual things that you could pick to turn someone into a Mii. Like I want to make sure the eyes are in the glasses and the mouth and the nose, the hair, and the whole look of my body and my head fit how a Mii would actually look. And I think I nailed it. My wife walked in and saw this one day and thinks I absolutely nailed it. So I love this one, turning myself into the style of a Mii. This is another one that got a stamp of approval from my wife because this show is very nostalgic to her, and that is drawing myself in the style of My Little Pony. This was one that was getting a ton of suggestions early on, and I really just kind of avoided it. I knew I had to do it eventually. Now we're getting close to the end, so I had to do it. This one is definitely, you can just look at it and just see, I took the template of a My Little Pony, made it more like my color scheme with my hair, kind of adding glasses to it. They have very big eyes with like highlights on the eyes where like their color is. I have blue eyes, so I went with that. And then they have these things like on their lower body area that I don't know what it represents, but I made like a pencil just to represent my drawing. So all that came together to draw myself in the style of My Little Pony. To everyone who suggested it over the last few months, I hope I did it justice. Now the next style is Wow Wow Wubsy. This is a show that I remember growing up and my sisters really loved. It's very much a show that I look at and see it as kind of like geometric, but with like soft edges. And then I use that as inspiration for this, basically taking the template of Wubsy, stretching her out a little bit, adding my hair to it, keeping the ears, and then adding my glasses to it. And then those have like blue aspects to it from the inside on the lenses. Adding the nose that's kind of similar to a bluey nose in my opinion. Putting that all together to draw myself in the style of Wow Wow Wubsy. And this next style is another show that's very nostalgic to my wife, and that is Dora the Explorer. And you can look at that if you grew up watching that, knowing that I took a lot of inspiration from how Diego looks. Adding glasses to it, keeping the whole template of how Diego looks, putting that all together to draw myself as a Dora the Explorer character. And now this next one is again another very unique show, another like kind of fever dream show I remember from growing up, and that is Chowder. This show is so weird, but I remember like actually really enjoying it growing up. I took a lot of inspiration from the look of Chowder. I don't know exactly what kind of animal he is, but that's the template I use. Adding my hair, adding the ovular skinny eyes that kind of lean up against each other, almost like South Park. And then I always noticed these characters have like these patterns on them that just kind of stay in the same spot as they move. I wanted to add a little pattern to my shirt to go along with that style. So you'll see all of that here for myself in the style of Chowder. And the second to last style we're talking about in this video is another Nintendo game style, another game that my wife loves also, gave her stamp of approval, and that is Animal Crossing. I saw the suggestion recently, wanted to give it a try, so I took the inspiration from how the villagers look, added the aspects of myself with my hair, my glasses, and my shirt, and then they also have like a triangle nose, I guess, and then I think I just add all these different aspects and paste them all together to make myself as an Animal Crossing character. And now at part 80, we have Doug. I don't know how Doug ended up being this big milestone moment, but it's Doug. I took a lot of inspiration from the look of the character Doug, obviously, as you can see by this. Looking at characters who have glasses in the show, they just have like basically just circle eyes, but with the show, if they have glasses, they have like blue lenses to it. And then the hair, I went with the inspiration from Doug for the hair, and then there's other characters who have hair similar, where it's kind of like the Peanuts or like Woodstock aspect to it, where they don't have the line work that encloses the color, but the color all just kind of encloses around the line work. So that makes sense in my head, but that's how I drew myself in the style of Doug, the 80th out of 100 cartoon style. And we are now at the new stuff, parts 81 through 100. At part 81, we have Care Bears. And you could look at this one and say that I took a lot of inspiration from the classic look of the Care Bears, more or less how I picture them from like how they looked when I was growing up. Took that template, added a little extra spikiness to it, make sure that it was a blue Care Bear to match like my blue shirt. Blue is definitely a color that you'll see a lot in this series, adding glasses to it. And then for the stomach, I wanted to make sure it had like a pencil and some drawing aspects to it to make it kind of be like it's a drawing Care Bear, a creative Care Bear, something like that. So there's myself in the style of Care Bears. And the next style is a style that was requested for a while, and I finally got a chance to do it, and that is a style of Recess, Disney's old animated show called Recess. This was a show that I remember from my childhood. Definitely people of my age remember growing up watching that show. When trying to find out how to draw myself in this style, I definitely looked at a lot of the characters at that time, trying to piece together their aspects from those characters and how it would work for me. There are characters with glasses, so when they have glasses, some characters either have like their lenses are their entire eye, or they have the lenses in like the frames, and then their eyes are still inside. So for this one, I made the choice of making my eyes inside the lenses. And then they also kind of have like almost like pig noses is what I've noticed for these characters. So I made sure to use that as well. When I look at this, it just feels like the vibe of Recess. The character's hair making a little bit like spikier and like more volume to them. And then that's all the aspects that kind of came together to draw myself in the style of Recess. And the next style is another show that I grew up watching, and that is Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. One thing about this style that I definitely noticed is that there's not really a lot of line work on the outside of the character, but when you see the line work, it's when like the aspects of them overlap. So like when their arms overlap with their chest, when their chin overlaps with their neck, aspects like that is how you're going to see actual line work within the character, like actual black line work. Other than that, it's just like the color is basically encapsulating the whole thing. There's not really line work that like is the outline of it. There's not really an outline for these characters is what I'm trying to say. And like I just mentioned, the frames of my glasses are my entire eye, and then there's like light blue filling to them. I found that from like actual characters in the show. So I pieced all that together to draw myself in the style of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Moving right along here to part 84, and that is Sanjay and Craig. Now, this is a show that I personally did not grow up watching, but I could look at the main character of Sanjay, who I believe is the human character. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I went off the look of the human main character, the way his whole like face shape is, and even like his very pointy nose, and even his hair, very similar to mine. So I used that as inspiration by giving myself some glasses as well. But it was basically just taking the inspiration from the main character of Sanjay, adding my aspects to it, and that's how I got myself in the style of Sanjay and Craig. And the next style was another style that was requested for a very long time, and that is Rocko's Modern Life. Now this one, I can admit that I didn't do a whole lot of extra stuff with this one. I looked at the main character of Rocko and went off of that, adding aspects to myself, adding some glasses, adding some hair. But there's another character in the show that's like the bigger character who has hair that's kind of swooshed up like mine, so I used that as inspiration when adding my hair to the character. Again, it's just taking bits and pieces from different characters in these shows to figure out how I would fit into it and how I would look in that style. So that's how I got myself in the style of Rocko's Modern Life. And the next style is one of the newest shows that I've done in this entire series, and that is the show Haunted Hotel, which is a show that I think like just started on Netflix. There were a few things about the show that looked a little bit different to me that were kind of intriguing. It's one thing was like the ears, but for this one you see them and they have a little bit of like, they have like a little extra like pink coloring to them, so I made sure to add that for mine as well. Their eyes are like perfect circles, kind of similar to Family Guy's, but they have like the circle pupils inside the ear that also have like the eye color to it also. And again, like the style is very reminiscent of Family Guy, like the way that the chin is as well, and then the hair, just some things that are making it a little bit different for myself in the style of Haunted Hotel. And the next style here is definitely one of my favorites, especially with like the newest release of this style. I love it so much. And that is the style of Marvel's What If. Like the Marvel What If show, say what you want about it. The first season's fun, and then it's really gone downhill. But Marvel Zombies came out this year, and that was just phenomenal. And I love the look and feel of it. Not everybody's a huge fan of it, but I love like their use of shadowing and highlights. I want to make sure I highlighted that with my drawing by giving myself like some yellow highlights on the side, and then the extra shadowing. Like it's a very hyper realistic style because they want to make sure the characters look like the characters that play them on screen. So that's what I tried to add here. Again, trying to make it look as much as like myself as I could, adding the shadowing, adding the highlights, all to make myself in the style of Marvel What If. And the next style is pretty self-explanatory. The style of American Dad, making it look like Roger is disguised as me. The iconic character of Roger is one of the most iconic Seth MacFarlane created characters in his whole extended cartoon universe. I love that character. I love drawing him different like disguises and stuff like that. It's such a fun thing to do. And it's just another thing that like fits with his character. And I love adding all these different aspects of me, the glasses, the hair, and the shirt, to make it look like myself in the style of American Dad, having Roger disguised as me. And the next style, part 89, we're almost at part 90, and that is the style of Tim Burton. Anytime I think of the style of like Tim Burton, I always think of like the character design of the characters in the movie Corpse Bride, having the very big eyes, and then the very like pointy chin, like pointy aspects, and like pointy shoulders, and like long skinny arms and stuff like that. Very like pronounced and pointy hair as well. That's all the stuff that makes me think of the Tim Burton art style. So I took all of that, added the aspects of myself, even making the glasses a little more like chaotic and pointy as well. Pointy shoulders, all of that for myself in the style of Tim Burton. And the next style, we are at part 90, and that is the style of Rocket Power. When I was looking into this style, I definitely took a lot of inspiration from like two main male characters from the show. One of them has glasses similar to mine, and one of them kind of has hair similar to mine. So I kind of combined those two to make myself in the style of Rocket Power. And the next style is another style from like a very, very new show, another Marvel show, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, that came out this year. This show was freaking awesome, and I love the look of these characters. I want to take inspiration from the look of Peter Parker because he's got glasses similar to mine and even hair similar to mine. So use that as a lot of inspiration for that. I love their use of shadowing. It's basically just like, it's the sharp colors and then it's the sharp shadowing, and that's all the shadowing you get. And I love the way that looks, adding the shadowing to my hair and under my chin and all that. And then putting all those aspects of like the highlights of my glasses to make myself in the style of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And now at part 92 is a style that was starting to get requested the more I got onto the series. It was at like part like the 80s when I saw the suggestion, I decided to run with it. And that was the style of Popeye, definitely running with the old-fashioned look of these characters, very old-fashioned Popeye cartoons. I basically just Googled the characters, Took inspiration from like how Popeye looks and a lot of like the background characters. I found some characters with glasses, and that's how their glasses looked in the show. Adding like my hair to it as well. Just a lot of line work, kind of similar to like the Peanuts style, where like the line work doesn't necessarily encapsulate or outline the hair, but it serves as like the texture for it, and then the color also just kind of fills in there for that. For myself in the style of Popeye. And the next style is definitely another style that's a little more like hyper realistic, and that's the style of Archer. That show was just basically 2D people. Like it's basically just very, very realistic. So I just went off the look of myself straight on at the camera, adding as much detail as I could, and then adding like the highlights and the shadowing in my hair and in my face and in my shirt, all to make myself in the style of Archer. And now this next one is definitely a favorite because it's one of my favorite anime shows of all time, and that is X-Men 97. Now, X-Men is another show that I just love their use of shadowing and highlights and all that, especially in like the Mr. Fantastic suit in it where it's the mainly black with the blue highlights, or like Wolverine will wear a shirt that's like all black with like the orange highlights, and Magneto's suit with the black and like the purple highlights. It is so awesome. I love that so much, and I love encapsulating that in my style as well. I think I've made myself just a little bit too much looking like a superhero. I don't think it looks so much like me, but it fits that style. I took a lot of inspiration from the look of Cyclops, mainly with his hair and his whole look and having glasses, similar to mine. So I want to also add like some blue highlights to it, kind of similar to Cyclops' red highlights. All putting that together, making one of my favorite ones in this entire challenge, myself in the style of X-Men 97. We are really in the home stretch here. At the next one, we have the style of Big Nate. This was one I saw suggested a bunch over the course of this challenge. I was not super familiar with it at all. After doing a little bit of research, I understand there's like a comic strip version, and there's also like a more CG 3D animated version of these characters in a newer show. I went off more of the look in the comics, just looking up the look of the characters. There's a character who has glasses and hair similar to mine, so I use that as a lot of inspiration for that. Even some inspiration for how Nate looks, the main character, and their eyes are kind of similar to like Dogman, like longer rectangular eyes. Putting that all together for myself in the style of Big Nate. Now, this is another style that's more based on a video game, definitely a video game that isn't as popular as it was when it was at its peak around like COVID in like 2021, 2022. And that is Among Us. Among Us is just such a fun template to be able to try to take and add all these different aspects to turn it into like an actual person, like a variant version of like a variant skin for the game, basically. So basically just take the look of the Among Us character where they just have like the big like blocky body with the two legs and like the pack on the back, whatever you want to call that. They have like the astronaut mask, basically, all very like dumbed down 2D animation. I love the look of it. And so then I just added my hair, made sure it was blue, and then added glasses to it as well. I made a bunch of like variant skins like in the past when Among Us was at its peak, like way back in the day. So this was fun to be able to go back into that and try this again for myself in the style of Among Us. And we have now officially reached the final four. The next style, part 97, is Arthur. You can look at this one and say I took a lot of inspiration from the main character of Arthur, but changing my glasses up, keeping the whole look of his face with like the ears, whatever species he is, I'm not sure, but keeping that look of it as well. Changing my shirt, and then also adding hair as well. Apparently there's like a later version where Arthur actually has hair like that. So I use a lot of inspiration for that, for drawing myself in the style of Arthur. And the next style, part 98, is classic Disney animation. I love the way this one turned out, very nostalgic for me. I love the look of these characters. Like the look of their eyes is very nostalgic for me. It's hard to describe, but it makes sense to me. Their eye shape just is very synonymous with classic Disney. And then their hair also usually has a lot of detail to it. Like it's just phenomenal how talented these artists were back then that could 2D animate cell by cell. These complex hair designs are always moving with all this detail. I want to make sure I added that to it as well. And for my glasses, I took a lot of inspiration actually from the look of Milo from Atlantis. I recently watched the movie for the first time. The movie absolutely bangs. So it's a little bit of a combination of classic Disney and then like the more modern 2D before they fully shifted to 3D. But I want to add those aspects to it as well. When we were watching Atlantis, I found out that my wife had a crush on Milo growing up and basically married a guy who looks just like him. So I want to add aspects to that as well, or drawing myself in the style of classic Disney animation. Now, when I was mapping out this challenge earlier on, I knew these last two were going to be the two that I wanted to do to finish out this series. And for part 99, I chose to do the style of Handsome Squidward, which is basically another template, but it's basically become an own style within my drawings over the years. I love this template of this character. It's just absolutely insane. Overly designed version of Handsome Squidward is so funny to me, with the eyes and then with the big pronounced cheekbones, the big jaw, and then like the butt chin at the end and the big pronounced lips too. I love the look of it so much. It's just so funny and such a fun template again to just add and pick and choose certain aspects to turn that template into somebody else like myself. Adding my glasses to it, changing the shirt with the big shoulders that he has, and then adding my hair with some highlight and shadowing, and some extra highlights on the face too for myself in the style of Handsome Squidward. And here we are, the 100th cartoon style and the 100 cartoon style challenge. And this one was definitely the biggest challenge of them all. I wanted to make sure to challenge myself with this last one because it's one of my favorite animation styles, and I wanted to challenge myself and trying to turn myself into this. And that is Spider-Verse. I'm not going to show you it quite yet, but I want to explain the thought process of it. So I love the movie so much. Across the Spider-Verse is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the look of these characters. I love the layered, so much like lighting and shadowing, so many different aspects of the characters. I love it so much. I wanted to include every single one I possibly could in this drawing. Adding the like highlights that also look like the comic book like dot styles that I love so much. Adding so much different lighting and shadowing, and even trying to add like some outlining similar to like the Spider-Punk outline that I love so much. Adding all these different aspects, I did start by doing some hand-drawn stuff, and then a lot of it had to be done digitally. I luckily have like a little tablet that I can draw on that goes onto my laptop, so I can draw stuff digitally as well. I want to try to challenge myself with this, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. So here's myself in the style of Spider-Verse, the 100th style, and the 100 cartoon style challenge. So there you have it. There's all 100 cartoon styles of the 100 cartoon style challenge. Let's go through and count through every single one, 1 through 100. Make sure that I'm not messing with y'all. This is 100 cartoon styles. All right, we got Family Guy, Loud House, The Simpsons, Codename Kid Next Door, Bluey, Rick and Morty, South Park, Peanuts, Gravity Falls, Fairly Odd Parents, A Goofy Movie, Studio Ghibli, Invincible, Adventure Time, Phineas and Ferb, 2003 Clone Wars, Powerpuff Girls, Bob's Burgers, Big Mouth, Garfield, SpongeBob, Dogman, Smiling Friends, Lego, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Total Drama Island, Regular Show, Cuphead, Beavis and Butthead, Rugrats, Looney Tunes, King of the Hill, Mighty Bee, Dr. Seuss, Scooby-Doo, Ed, Edd and Eddy, The Muppets, BoJack Horseman, The Flintstones, Aardman, Amazing World of Gumball, Danny Phantom, Avatar The Last Airbender, Red Bull Commercial, Sonic the Hedgehog, El Tigre, Futurama, Big City Greens, My Life as a Teenage Robot, Calvin and Hobbes, Invader Zim, Dragon Ball Z, Ben 10, Hazbin Hotel, DuckTales, Fish Hooks, Teen Titans, Peppa Pig, Teen Titans Go, The Smurfs, Super Mario, Steven Universe, Angry Birds, How It Should Have Ended, Meat Canyon, Kim Possible, F is for Family, Pokemon, Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Test, Hey Arnold, Transformers, South Park Canadian, a Nintendo Mii from the Wii, My Little Pony, Wow Wow Wubsy, Dora the Explorer, Chowder, Animal Crossing, Doug, Care Bears, Recess, Sanjay and Craig, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Rocko's Modern Life, American Dad, Tim Burton, Haunted Hotel, Marvel's What If, Rocket Power, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, X-Men 97, Big Nate, Popeye, Archer, Among Us, Arthur, Classic Disney, Handsome Squidward, and Spider-Verse. I can't believe we made the 100 cartoon styles, but now the question is, should I keep going? There are so many other suggestions that y'all had that were so great but just didn't make this 100, which is crazy. But it's insane that I could keep going to 100. I could probably keep going to 150. Should I keep going to 150? If not, I'm fine with just calling this good at 100. And if I'm stopping here, what was your favorite cartoon style of this 100 cartoon style challenge? What were some of your favorite things about this challenge? And if you're someone out there who watches my videos and is like inspired to do this stuff because of my work, please make sure to like tag me on Instagram, tag me on TikTok, whatever it is. Please make sure to let me know. I'm so very honored to be someone who's like inspiring people to make artwork. In a world full of just so much AI slop, I'm so happy that there are still people creating their own stuff with their own two hands. And I love seeing that so much. So thank you all so much for being a part of this ride with me. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my videos. I'm so very appreciative of this life and this platform that I've built. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd. Keep an eye out for these giveaways as I reach these milestones. Thank you all so much for watching and being part of this journey. Have a great day and keep on drawing.